countless prestigious awards, and his fashion sense has inspired everyone from Johnny Depp's Jack Sparrow to Coronation Street's Kirk. Please welcome Adam Ant!
Yeah, all right.
You're on.
I've got a mic in my back pocket. So.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very nice to be here.
Good. It's been a few years since you've been on the show. What have you been up to?
I've been touring non-stop. I've done, since coming back in 2010, I've done 250 concerts.
Oh.
And went to America, Australia, all around Britain, and just making a new album. So I've just been doing what I love doing.
No, obviously you're huge in the UK. But what's the response like when you travel around the world? Are people still very aware of the whole Adam Ant phenomenon, or?
Yeah, well, it's really the challenge is sort of changing it so that you're not looking like when they turn, you've got to try and look like, you know, and dress like they're dressing up. And it's just great. I've got a 7-piece band, and I've been working with them solid now for a few years, and it's a kind of band of brothers and sisters. I've got a lady drummer called Yola, and she'll kill me for saying it. But she you know, it's like a band's like a body, and I'm the head, but you know, it's a torso, it's a body, and it's just nice to have that camaraderie on stage. And
are you loving it as much as you did when you first came out as the wonderful Adam Ant? I love it.
More so.
Do you really? Why? What's the difference now?
I'm doing more gigs.
Right.
And also, instead of when you're with a major record company, you do that album and you're promoting that album.
Yeah.
And with this, because I've got a chance to look back on my catalogue, I can choose the songs that I really love and play them amongst some, you know, drop a couple of new ones, but really revisiting stuff you've done before with a great band and having the time to do it gives you a...
And have you got more control now than you had in the beginning?
Yeah, well, eventually I formed my own record label,
Yeah.
Bizarre, and that's what you call a boutique label, and as much as I pay for everything.
That's a different...
And that's a learning curve, and then promoting the shows myself. So it's to do with everything, the buck stops with me, and, you know, it's very easy to say, oh, well, major record companies do this and promoters do that, but when you do the job yourself, you realise it's actually quite a tough call, what they do. So working with them now, I appreciate what they do, because I know how hard it is.
When you look back on it, I mean, it must have been like being hit by a thunderbolt, because you were huge and you had lots of hit records. What would you do differently? Anything?
Wear a crash helmet, I think, really. No, that's a good point. There's no, I mean, literally, it's one day I was, you know, punk rock. I'd been playing clubs for 3 years and making this Dirt Wears White Socks record, which wasn't really, you know, they didn't really like us particularly. But we had a solid following, and so the fans knew us, but we were still playing. And then literally went on Top of the Pops, and the next day it was people, and this is your dreams come true, but be careful what you wish for, because you've kind of got to catch up. And no one, I'd never done an interview on TV before. I'd never gone to, you know, I had to say things that were just throwaway. You'd actually think to say, oh, you said that. So it was a...
And how did that impact on you then? I often think that when you see these people that are just suddenly out of a show, just thrown into like fame, I think, how do you actually cope with that? Because it's...
Well, I didn't. Well, I did. I'm from a Romany background, so my grandfather's my hero. He was a sailor in World War I, and he told me, you know, you just work. You know, you've got to work hard, and you've got to, you know, money doesn't matter, spread it around, but, you know, never a lender or borrow a bee, but, you know, work hard. So the ethic was there for me, and it just went into overdrive, because for those 3 years everyone was saying, when you're getting no, for 3 years now, and then suddenly it's yes, everybody wants some, and so I really had this kind of, my hero was Muhammad Ali, fortunately.
Oh, really?
And I didn't drink, smoke, take drugs, and I never thought I was goody two-shoes, and that's why I wrote the song, but it really was very important, Ali, growing up, watching every fight and watching him, you know, just be great at what he did, but hand it, and he was the guiding light for me. And so there was that element of arrogance about it, which I think you have to have as a pop singer, because everyone's a narcissist, and if they're narcissists, they're any good, like Elvis. But it was really that, you know, wanting to be the best. So he was a sportsman. He didn't drink, smoke, or take drugs. So everyone said, oh, that can't be come on, you're throwing tennis out the window, you're doing this. But I really was pretty monastic, and I had 11 days off in 4 years, and eventually it caught up and affected my mental health. Which
How are you now? Because
well-
you've spoken about, obviously, you came out, you're very honest early on. People talk about it quite openly now, about being bipolar and suffering from depression, but you were one of the first.
Yeah, well, I think it's a major. It affects every family in the world that I know of. Everybody's got someone in their family who suffers from some form of mental health. It's a very intricate subject because the brain's the most intricate part of our body. We know not that much about it. But I wrote a book, I was open about it, and I get a lot of letters, you know, every week. Kids writing to me saying, you know, they're feeling 18-year-old kids at home and unhappy. And I think it's really, I say, you know, if you've got a dog, walk it, talk to your family, go and see your doctor and tell him.
How you're feeling.
Demand the time.
And again, looking back, do you see things now, when you were at the height of your success and on that roller coaster, do you see things now that there were issues with bipolar then and you just didn't know what it was?
Well, I think it's a bit hard because the symptoms of bipolar, if you go into it, are dressing outlandishly, spending loads of money, being very irrational and being very promiscuous, which is my job description. So you kind of don't notice it, but it's not about me. It's about, you know, it's regular family, and it's a very, I mean, bipolar disorder itself really just is a turn up and down, and the antidepressants bring things to a sort of steady thing, but you mustn't lose your personality. I didn't write a song for 7 years. I didn't make love for 7 years. So it had a price to pay.
But how did you come out of it then? What was the trigger?
I had a very good psychiatrist at some point. I went to see him, and he was a fabulous guy, and he said, look, do you know what these pills do? Do you know what goes inside your brain? Do you know what these pills actually do to your brain? And it's not easy to understand the serotonin levels, and plus the fact everybody's unique. And he educated me, and he said, well, look, you don't have to be on these pills all your life if you want to try and come off, but you have to be very, very patient. We're talking years to come off. Not, you know, the worst thing people do is I feel all right now, I'm coming off it. And that is a disaster. So it was really getting out. If you've got a dog, walk it. If you see a tree, hug it. Really, I'm not being corny.
No, absolutely.
Because the last people you can actually talk to are your parents, because you feel this awful shame.
And you don't have to worry them as well, and friends. Do you know, it is so nice to see you looking so well, and hear about the fact, you know, that you're touring, you're out promoting. I love the fact that you've re-released the Dirk Wears White Socks. It's in a white vinyl record, is that right?
Yeah, well, having your own label, like I said, on the plus side is I can be pretty much do what I want to do. I mean, my daughter's 16, she doesn't really buy vinyl, but she gets to see the bit. But I look at her and my goddaughter. It was actually my goddaughter, Tilly, who's actually just come out. She just hit 16. And what are you doing? I said, she said, I'm having a vinyl party tonight. And they were having a Dirk Wears White Socks night. And so
It's all coming back.
the Islington Assembly Hall, where I'm doing the 4 shows, the 20th to 24th this month in November. I grew up around there. I used to rehearse in the Screen on the Green. There was a guy called Roger, and he let us play there from midnight until dawn. And I also used to, well, I'm from St John's Wood, so I'd sort of go up there a lot and go up to rehearsings in North London. So it's kind of going back to the roots as well. But it's a beautiful place as well, and I just feel very happy to be. I only realised the other day the record was actually a #1 album in the independent charts, and I'd sort of forgotten about that. It doesn't count.
Well, if you're watching at home, and those of you in the audience, if you want to go along and see Adam, it's from the 20th of November at the Islington Assembly Halls. That's where you can see it perform. In your honour, we've redecorated our Facebook page. Have a look at what we have done. This is just for you. You might not even need to put your glasses on. I think I'll keep that. Still to come, there's a man on page 3 of a well-known tabloid today instead of a woman. Is it a good or a bad idea? That's what we're talking about after this.